What up? Humble Guitarist podcast. Time to freaking go. Let's do it. Episode 3. Episode 3, boy. Let's go. Alright. Alright. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Action. Hi guys, I'm Sam McDonald, and this is the Humble Guitarist podcast. Humble Guitarist! Woo! Yeah, hey guys, thank you for coming and tuning in to episode 3 of the Humble Guitarist podcast. The title today is Learning from the Greats, and that's pretty self-explanatory, so yeah. But I do want to talk a little bit about my journey learning from the greats, and also I kind of need to talk about the coronavirus stuff, because I do want to tell everybody that right now is a really trying time for everyone. Musicians, very, very hard. Everyone, it's hard. I mean, people are losing their jobs. People can't pay their rent. People are just really struggling right now, and it's showing a lot of the things in America that need to be worked on. And I really, 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 really hope and pray that everyone will be able to recover from this, and that our country will be able to recover and rebound whenever we're able to safely go back to our jobs. And yeah, it really sucks. So now all I can say to the everyday people out there is social distancing is a real thing, and do that. And wash your hands, don't touch a bunch of people, and most of our states and cities are going on lockdown soon. At least my state and city, at least the one that I'm from, is going on lockdown. The one in Charlotte is going on lockdown, Mecklenburg County, that's near where I live. So we're gonna go on lockdown probably right after. Yeah. So also, one more thing about when you're on lockdown because of this virus, all I can tell you is play guitar, enjoy practicing. Like, get really, really good. I did make a video called COVID-19 practice routine. I will put a card up there somewhere above my face. Maybe it'll be on my face. I don't know. But yeah, go check COVID-19 practice routine out, because I know a lot of people have all this extra time, and that is really like fun to have extra time, right? But I think we should use this time to be really productive, right? So I'll be honest, I think my playing has improved like 10 times. My playing has gotten way better, because I've been practicing so much more every day than I used to. I did practice a ton, but I feel like just having my guitar in my hands almost like every hour of the day, because I'm just at home, like on online class, has so much, so really helped me. Like, I'm just like freaking, yeah, dude, I can really play right now. I can rip up a solo if that's what you're telling me to do. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that is my little announcement. I think that we really do need to be careful about this COVID-19 stuff. And I don't know what is going to happen, because this is the first time in history I feel like something this huge has happened to the American population and country, where we have gone on complete shutdown and lockdown. And it's like we have to rally together, because I mean, craziness happens. Like, everything is getting shut down, and all the sports are gone. All musicians' tours and shows and gigs are getting stopped or postponed, or just ended and cut, and all their money that they were gonna make is not gonna happen now. And these struggling musicians are gonna starve and die and go eat wheat grains and rice for the rest of their lives until they cannot live because they're starving. So, don't know what to tell you. It's kind of really worrisome and scary. And I'm super lucky that I'm not old yet and fending for myself in the music world, because I would be struggling right now. This is a scary time, even for the most successful musicians. I feel like it could be a scary time. Um, so yeah, yeah. Thank you for letting me go on that little PSA type of announcement thing. I'm gonna get into the topic of this video, which is gonna be lighthearted and happy and fun. I'm gonna talk about learning from everybody that's cool. And I'm gonna talk about guitar. I'm gonna talk about Led Zeppelin. I'm gonna talk about ACDC. I'm gonna talk about the Beatles. I'm gonna talk about Prince. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about a bunch of people that I think are super important for your playing. Now, there are probably way more people than I'm gonna talk about, because I have my personal idea of who I think is good to learn from, and everybody has their own opinion about that. But I'm just gonna share mine because this is my podcast, and I'm the humble guitarist, right? I'm super humble, but I don't really. Yeah, everybody has their different like top 10 lists, you know. So, but I'm going to go over the greats after I take a sip of this water. Greats. Okay. Do you want to be great? Do you want to be something? Do you want to do something good one day? Because if you do, then you need to look at those who came before you. Those people are the greats. And now, I'm going to tell you about my favorite. So, when I first picked up guitar, I was probably really freaking little. I was like, probably like 0 when I first picked up one, because I was like, what is this instrument? But no, when I was about like 5, my dad gave me this little tiny acoustic guitar, and it was crappy, but it was cool. And and I remember asking him how to play G all the time, and he would show me, and I would just play G and I think D a lot all day long, and I, had a good time. But then later on, I got my first electric, and I was like, it's time to learn some stuff, dude. What do I learn, right? And my dad was like, yo. Well, actually, no, he wasn't. I was like, yo, what do I learn? And I had a guitar teacher for the first time, and he started me learning ACDC. And I mean, I liked ACDC. I thought they were so cool. Like, rock on. Like, go crazy. Even though they don't have the best values. But I began learning ACDC songs. And some of us may think they're a little bit easy, and they are not super challenging. Or maybe they don't use the most music theory. They're pretty somewhat simple, I guess. But I think there is something to be said about having beauty in simplicity. So I'm going to talk a little bit about like some bands that have learned from ACDC, I guess, and just ACDC in general. ACDC freaking goes hard. And I do believe that learning some ACDC songs is kind of good for your playing, because some of it is actually pretty difficult. And other things about it is Angus Young and Malcolm Young, super, super innovative guitarists, both of them. Angus Young took the spotlight because he was freaking awesome, and Malcolm Young was like the dude in the back who made the coolest riffs and rhythm parts that anybody could have ever made. So, those two guys weren't like going to music school. They just had guitars in their hands since they were super young, and they just learned. And they liked making a certain type of music, but what they really did was they changed the norm for guitar. They made simple chords sound really cool and like grungy and fully rock and distortion, and like one of the really staples in like rock music, because they just showed like this is how you can make these E minors sound so full and cool, and then we can add all this stuff and make it sound like a real an awesome song to listen to. So that's kind of beauty and simplicity with them. Now there's a lot more that ACDC did that is also good to learn from, but you know, that's really all I have to say is that when you learn from them, there is a certain beauty in the simple riffs, and learning their songs and their solos can be super beneficial to your playing. I do recommend doing it. And what you can do with their playing that helps your playing is kind of a different story. So when I'm trying to write music, I usually want to go and either I make up a riff or I find some chords I like. So when you have some chords you like and those chords begin to sound kind of boring, I like to look at other bands before, way back, like ACDC even, which I'm talking about now, who will take these chords and add riffs in with the chords. I'm thinking of Back in Black right now. If you know the song Back in Black, it's like dan 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 dan, and it really it shakes up the whole vibe, because if you didn't have that little riff and then the other riff, the dun 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 dun, if you didn't have these riffs in there, it would be a really dull like song. So I kind of realized, like, oh, maybe I could add these little like these little slides and pull offs and quick riffs into with my my chords that I'm working on, and I totally realized that made it so much more exciting. And now I ended up making like a song that has a riff, but it's also chords at the same time. So while not everyone could realize that I really got that concept from the likes of ACDC, I did, because ACDC showed me that type of thing, and I didn't understand how to do that. And if I didn't learn how to play Back in Black when I was like 8 or 7, then I wouldn't know how to do that now. So that's one example. The other thing I need to talk about before I move on is that after I take a sip of water, because we need to be very hydrated during this concerning epidemic. The other thing that I need to touch on before I continue is learning from the greats is important, because what it does is you learn what happened before you. So now your playing is going to have all these new pathways of like, where can I go with this and what can I do to spice this up? And like that's where I said with me and the ACDC stuff, I realized that maybe I'm not going to be playing the same fully distorted kind of like power chordy angriness sound of ACDC, which I do love that sound. It's just not my style. It doesn't fit the way I want to write songs. I can actually still learn a lot from their innovations, like adding these little riffs in between the chords and making it spicy. And that's one thing I want to say that all guitarists should do is, no matter what, if you don't like a style of play or you don't like that type of music, there is something to be captured and learned from it, which not everybody gets that. I know they don't get it. It's okay. You don't have to get it, but just listen to me, because, I'm your humble guitarist friend. I'm never going to treat you wrong, never going to lead you astray, always going to pull you onto the good path. So, yeah. I need more water, dude. Like, when you talk all this, like, your mouth gets dry. It's like a desert in my mouth right now. It's like they got cactuses in there, they got armadillos, desert snakes. What's another desert animal? I almost said kangaroos. Really glad I didn't say that. I would look really stupid right now. R.I.P. kangaroos. Just kidding. They still are alive. R.I.P. Roo from Winnie the Pooh. Alright, I'm at 13 minutes. Let's do this. Who do I want to talk about next? I want to talk about Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones. I like Keith Richards because he's awesome. Freaking wears a headband. I want to wear a headband. I feel like it's cool. And he just looks cool all the time. Yeah, no, Keith Richards was super innovative. He had a kind of sound that seemed influenced by a lot of different things, but it was his own. At the same time, he was very smart about how he played. His riffs were seemingly messy, but at the same time they were articulate. He would when he played with just five strings, he actually utilized the five strings better than he utilized the six strings. And he made legendary songs like "Beast of Burden" is like super up there for me on lists of songs that I love to play. And he kind of showed, well, this is what I picked up from Keith Richards that I don't think I would have been able to do. Hey, I don't think I would be able to do the same type of style that I play now without some of his influence into me from learning his riffs and learning from him because he's one of the greats. And learning his riffs and his different songs that he worked on and made with Mick Taylor. Mick Taylor is also a very big part of that sound. But really, I can just say the Rolling Stones sound because I did say the ACDC sound. The Rolling Stones guitar riffs and sounds and chords influence me by showing me how to use less but make more, and then also be seemingly sloppy but also being articulate. And what I mean by that is when you let these other strings ring out and you play every single note, but you're also doing these fast kind of riffs and slides and whatnot. I'm thinking of "Can't You Hear Me Knocking" right now because it's in open G and it has a lot going on in it, but he's not actually moving his hands a bunch. He's just going and he's very articulate with his picking hand, even though on the record it sounds like he's just like and but then it has this nice touch where it's the riff and it's really beautiful. So I just want to say that what it did for my playing is when I play a solo, I don't always have to be very, very nitpicky about how I'm playing the notes and making sure not to hit any strings that I don't want to hit and stuff. Now that's good. You want to have that like very natural but yet very articulate and focused type of uh, picking quality. It's really like a having that really, really, really focused in, articulate, and developed picking style is great. But what you also need to be able to do is loosen up and know when you can play the wrong notes, and it actually can add something to your playing. And this is where kind of want to talk about other guys. Like for me, I was gonna go into Jimi Hendrix, and I could spend like a whole video talking about Jimi Hendrix because I think if you're going to talk about playing a bunch of strings and notes that you didn't exactly need to play or plan to play, but make it sound like it's the most beautiful, juiciest thing you've ever heard, that's him for sure. That's him 100%. So I'm going to move on to Jimi Hendrix after this sip of water. I can talk, right? I talk a lot on this stuff. Um, 17 minutes in, baby. I'm 17 years old, by the way. My name's Sam McDonald, and I love being a humble guitarist. This is my podcast. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe, and give me, give me some love. Give me a hug in the comments. Okay, Jimi Hendrix. He's a legend. Freaking, like, I have no words. I learned Purple Haze by him, and I still play that riff and intro riff for Purple Haze, and the solo that I know to this day. I still play it almost like every day or every other day when I practice because I love how he adds this like kind of building crescendo of drumming that was going on with the floor tom and the snare drum, and I guess the kick drum at the same time is going ch 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 ch, and then he is doing this riff, right? And it's like almost dissonant frequencies for a second, especially at the beginning when he's going dun 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 and I was like, what is going on? But it's actually really, really cool because it's so satisfying when you finally get to the end of the riff and he hits that chord and it's doom doom purple haze all in my brain. Yeah, purple haze. Yeah, Jimi Hendrix, RP. But so what I really want to take away from Jimi Hendrix, for those of you who want to listen to him more and learn more of his songs, is he was messy in his playing. He was messy. He was, and it's some people would probably want to kill me for saying that Jimi Hendrix was messy, but he was. In his playing, he was super messy, and it was very good messy. You can be messy and also be really, really good. When he's banging on these chords and just killing his guitar, he's doing something. She's putting emotion into his playing and into his instrument, and it shows you how much he's like trying to. I mean, he's banging on his guitar, but it's showing you guys, it's showing the audience like how hard he's feeling it at a certain moment in time. And I would say that after watching videos of Jimi Hendrix, I learned more about stage presence than I did about actual playing. But no, I learned how to really put the feeling into my playing. So when I'm playing a solo now, it doesn't sound like these are these notes that I'm just going through the motions to make a nice sounding melody with a few bends and then slides and then whatever, and then going through the scale a little bit and then going through a different scale and adding some interesting notes or whatever. It's actually sounding like I'm putting myself out there through my instrument and I'm showing the world like what I'm feeling in that moment, which to me seems like the most beautiful thing you can do with a guitar. That's just me. Maybe not everybody feels that way, but I do feel that Jimi Hendrix showed me how to put my playing into the guitar as an emotion and also as like a broadcasting, communicating type of thing. Um, so Jimi Hendrix was super good about like conveying his emotion, and I think you can pick up more than just stylistic qualities from the greats. You can learn how to be a guitar player on stage or be a musician on stage and have a certain level of like emotion and drive to show off to people. Now, I mean, Jimi Hendrix, you can't just be Jimi Hendrix. He's legendary. He's gonna always be that guy who had so many different things he could do. He's just crazy. But you can always learn from people. So that, yeah, I would say learn to use your emotions in your playing. And Jimi Hendrix could literally use a pick in his hands and show you how much he was feeling it. So that's where, and he had a really good single coil strat that was very responsive about every pick stroke and every movement on his fingers. So that was also very helpful. So I don't know, if you're trying to do that, maybe you should get a strat. But if you're trying to do like ACDC, get like a Les Paul or SG. But anyway, that's kind of besides the point. We're not talking about types of guitars here. Humbuckers, single coils, P90s, either one. It's all about what you want, So now we're going into people that are freaking amazing. No, everybody that I've said is amazing. It's time to talk a little bit about the Beatles. If you haven't listened to the Beatles' White Album and their greatest hits and Abbey Road and Yellow Submarine and all of their albums, if you haven't listened to all of the Beatles albums, then go listen to all of the Beatles albums as soon as you possibly can, please, in Jesus' name. But the Beatles, okay, for their time, they went from one era all the way to another era in music, and they influenced everyone. So you just can't, if you don't learn something from the Beatles, you're kind of ignoring like a big part of music. So that would be very disrespectful to me. So learn from your greats, the Beatles. George Harrison. I'm going to talk about George Harrison because I love his playing. I think that he was doing something from a bygone era and also doing something from the next era and also doing something from now. He was doing things that are used now, and he's also doing things that were used before his time and after his. He was using things all over because they were super innovative. The Beatles did things that nobody else did, and it's because they could. They were extremely famous, and everyone loved them because they had those qualities, those innovative, good sounding qualities. And so George Harrison, I'm gonna talk about a song that I've been playing since I was little, since I was like, I think I was 8 or 9. Yeah, no, I was like 8. I was 8, and I learned how to play "While My Guitar Gently Weeps" by George Harrison. It's by the Beatles, but mostly written by George Harrison. I think actually it was all written by George Harrison, I believe. But so I'm doing kind of a song study right now because I'm using songs that I learned. But so when I say learn from the greats, I mean go learn their songs. Go learn some of their riffs and their songs and their solos, and let it teach you like what you can take from that to influence your own style, which I have been going over everything that I've taken from these different guys that has made my playing better. So I do want you, when you're learning, if you're a young guitarist who's about to go learn some stuff, when you learn something and then you go back to playing what you like to play, or you're going back to creating something, think about what did I just learn, and how could that help me in this scenario? What could that influence help me do in this next level of playing that I'm working on? And if you can identify that and you can make substantial changes in your playing that help you and benefit you, then you're doing something right. You're definitely on the right track. So now, George Harrison, "While My Guitar Gently Weeps." I need another sip of water because I'm getting dry mouth over here. It's like a desert, like I said, cactus. Another, please. Okay, so "While My Guitar Gently Weeps," one thing about this song that I took into my own music writing is the chorus and the verses are very distinctly different moods and sounds. So if you know the song already, you know exactly what I'm talking about because it's very stark contrast. There's the light side and then there's the dark side, and quite possibly the most innovative, fun song to play for me is either that or Helter Skelter. But I love playing "While My Guitar Gently Weeps" because it's such a relief when you get to the really light, happy. I don't know why no one could. They found soldier. Like when you get to the happy part of the chorus, you are in a different level of headspace because you've been going through this. I look at the floor and I know that it's turning, but still my guitar gently like you're going through this like ballad type of sad, dark, grim tone where you're just chunking away at the A minor and you're adding these different bass notes. You're going to, your F, C, whatever. What it showed me was that your chorus and your verse don't have to be the same like mood or theme. They can be very different, and you can somehow make it very interesting and intriguing to have those like changes. Because if you start out a song sad but then it goes to a happy place, then you're taking your listeners on a little ride, and that's how you keep people interested. So the verse, right? It's very good. The verse is amazing. I do love the verse, and it's the best part to solo over. But the verse has this same kind of like dark tone. Like it continues with all of the verses, I believe. Yes, it does. It's kind of like this dark, kind of descending, a little bit sad, a little bit mad, area, place that you're in, and then he changes his voice, like the way he's singing. He goes, I don't know why. And then he plays A major, and then it's in a whole different happy place. And I really think that's awesome because it kind of shows the duality of a song. A song isn't just one thing. A song can be a whole ride. A song can be a roller coaster. If it starts here, it doesn't mean it's going to stay there. It's going to go all the way up here. It's going to go down there. And usually people do that with dynamics and like maybe an extra chord change, or they take a chord out, or they just sing a little bit harder, or they change the way they're picking. But when someone completely changes the chord structure and makes it happy, but also uses the transition as kind of a break of the sadness and gives you this like life and happy, um, embraceful like tone, and then they come back with the sad, and you're just like still like riding this wave with them. You're riding the wave with the songwriter. I do think that's really beautiful to like ride a wave in a song and go from one place to another place to another place. And that's so I did learn that from While My Guitar Gently Weeps, but also George Harrison. So when you're writing your own music, and say you're writing a song and you think it's going to be sad, right? And you're like, okay, that's my sad song. And then you write a happy song. And then you write a melancholy song or whatever. Just remember that it doesn't have to be a sad song, because you can always excite it up and make it something different for the choruses and the bridges and the verses and whatever. You can take these different parts of your song and completely flip the narrative if you want, and make it a type of like excitement for the audience and the viewers and listeners. Obviously not really viewers unless you're doing music videos. So that's what I learned, and I incorporated it into my own songs a little bit with this song I made called Telepathic, where the chorus is a little happier. It's kind of whiny, but the chorus is a little happier because the verse is like, I don't know, like what I don't know what you're thinking, I can't, blah blah blah. But then the chorus is like, I'm not telepathic, and it's okay, like it's awesome and it's cool. And it's the same way with like My Guitar Gently Weeps is like, I look at the floor and I see that it's turning. Still, my guitar gently weeps. Like saying that his guitar is weeping, but then he's like questioning, like why someone would do something to this guitar or this girl or this everything. But it's in a happier place when he's in the chorus. So, for your own music and your own riffs, try and remember what kind of tone and mood. It's like writing a story. If you're writing a story, you want to be able to control the audience's tone. I mean, the audience, you have a tone, but you want to control the audience's mood. Like, what mood is going to be felt at this moment? And how can I kind of guide the mood a little bit differently to keep them excited and keep them into it? Music changes your mood. It is proven. And it'll give you this different sense of feeling when you get to that happy chorus, and then you're back down, and then you're going back up and going back down. So that's why I do believe there's a lot to learn from even just While My Guitar Gently Weeps itself, the song. There's a bunch of more songs by the Beatles that do that same type of excitement, and then like back down to sad and things. But that song in particular is super important to me. So, yeah, do hope that helped a little bit. And I'm going to continue to talk about the greats and how they affected me after I take a sip of water. Ooh. So now I would like to take it to a band that taught me more than words could describe. It's really Jimmy Page, but it's also the band of Led Zeppelin, because Led Zeppelin taught me some things that I never could have ever understood on my own. I don't think I would ever be that crazy to have the different level of innovation that they had. Now, also, you have to have a double guitar that has a 12 string on it and then has a normal guitar, a double SG or whatever. You have to have those beneficial things because some people can't afford to have a 12 string and a normal guitar all together in one, but you know, and then tuning that is kind of annoying. But anyway, so obviously, just how almost everybody starts with learning "Smoke on the Water." A lot of people end up learning "Stairway to Heaven," and it's like a no-no. You don't play that in the guitar store ever. Never play "Stairway to Heaven" in the guitar store. But I do like me some "Stairway to Heaven." Not gonna lie. How is my audio doing? La 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 la. All right, I'm good. But "Stairway to Heaven" is a very good song. And so this is similar to the Beatles concept I was just talking about. Stairway to Heaven goes from one entirely crazy different place to a whole entire different place, and it's taking you on this really long journey, right? Um, and it's kind of interesting how you're like going from this one completely different area to another completely different area in the same song, and it's still so enticing and like pulling you in and holding you there. And I think that's something that all music of today can learn from, because it is really getting to a point where people listen to the same song over and over again, and the song doesn't go through any type of journey or change. The song is always just a same concept, same thing, doesn't really change much. There you have a verse and a chorus and maybe a bridge, and that's it. And the song doesn't really elaborate on what it was doing or saying. It just goes and goes and goes the same pace, the same way. Um, and I'm thinking about a lot of different type of music right now. It's not just one type of music. It's lots of different types of music do this, and I don't know if it's because our society has this like quick ear thing where we like to listen to something that kind of like captures your interest, and then we just like to listen to something that drones on and on and on like that. I don't know. I have been getting bored with music lately, so I have been starting to listen to old stuff again. Um, but I go through phases. Everyone does. At least I think so. Because there's a time when you want to listen to something new, but then you also need a break of the new stuff, because there's a beauty to the older music that kind of has this. It's like it's elaborating on its argument every time. It's like it's just telling you a story, and every time it's building on what it told you before. It's building on what it told you before. It's really pure dynamics in a different type of scenario. But so that's Led Zeppelin and Stairway to Heaven. Now I'm gonna move in more on Jimmy Page, because I really could talk about all the people in Led Zeppelin. Like, especially I could talk about Jimmy Page and Robert Plant, but I'm just gonna talk about Jimmy Page because Jimmy Page paved the way for me. Like, seriously paved the way for me. When I first started taking lessons at this little place called Music Academy in Asheville, um, I remember wanting to do the little recital, and I did not know what to do for the recital, but I knew that I loved playing Led Zeppelin songs, and I had never done a recital before. I had played at my talent show. I did the ACDC songs, like I told you guys, and I did like a little blues boogie woogie thing at my third grade talent show, and that was pretty fun, and I enjoyed all of it, but it's not the same. And I remember when I first was introduced into Led Zeppelin riffs, and I think it was The Ocean. I think I learned The Ocean first. And I was like, wow, this is like super cool, and it's not even like a crazy, crazy riff, but it's like you're using what, one, two, three, four, five, you're using like five notes to make a really interesting riff. Well, I guess you get like six, but you're using like five or six notes, five notes to make a really interesting riff. that doesn't even need any more. It's centered around this riff. And this is when I realized that back in that day and time, a riff carried a song. Like a guitar riff carried the song. Like songs were defined by their guitar riff, and I really wish that was still the way it is today. It's not really as much. It's kind of defined by who it is, like who's singing and what effects are on there, because that's how it's interesting, I guess, now, is if you have cool effects or whatever. Um, but yeah, so back in the day, a riff defined a song. So Jimmy Page, super, super freaking admirable. Um, And then I learned Black Dog after I learned The Ocean. And Black Dog's a little bit similar. It's faster, it's more exciting, it's more famous. And then I think I learned Dire Maker. And then I had learned Stairway to Heaven too. And what else? I guess, did I learn Immigrant? I think I learned Immigrant Song. I think that is around where I stopped. Like, I didn't learn too many more than those. But that was a good assortment of songs to learn. So, from each of these songs, I really like Dire Maker. I need to go learn that one again because the riff is so much, it's so different. And music nowadays is using those different, like, you know how Dire Maker goes, if you remember the song goes do 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 do, and then there's this, Robert Plant is singing this higher, like, happier kind of song, like melody for the song, which isn't really his normal style, so it's cool to switch it up. And he's also kind of doing this thing that is done a lot now in like pop music, where it's like the guitar that's driving the song, which most of the time the guitar is not driving the song now, but the guitar that was driving the song has these little, it has like the bass notes and the high notes, and but the guitar is already cutting through it in the mid range of the sound anyway, so it's like it's full enough to where it holds the audience's attention, and it's interesting, and it's a riff, so it's cool and interesting because the riff has its own little qualities to it. But then it creates like a perfect pocket for the singer who is either singing in the higher or the mid ranges or the low, whatever. It creates a pocket for the singer to come in and pair really nicely with the guitar. It's like the guitar and the singer are working, like, if Robert Plant wasn't there, it wouldn't be the same. But if Jimmy Page wasn't there, it wouldn't be the same either. So it's like they were like one and the same and working together. So what that taught me is that sometimes with a riff, less can be more, but you can also make a really interesting riff out of only using a certain amount of notes or taking away notes from a chord. That's what I like to do in my songs a lot, is take away some of the extra notes in a chord. Just use the one in the whatever, the five, like the one in the five work sometimes, and a few different things. I need to really get better at music theory. Hopefully I will in the next year that I work on it. But taking away notes from a chord, breaking it down, can sometimes create a perfect pocket for your voice to come in. And then another thing I learned was that it was like like I said, the guitar and the singer were kind of working together. So when the guitar would go out, the singer would come in, and when the singer would go out, the guitar would come in, and it was like they were just ebbing and flowing together, and that was really beautiful to me. And I realized that I could do that with my own playing. So when I do like a faster upbeat song, I usually will have stops with the chords, and that's when my voice will be the most like present. And then I'll come in with the broken down chords a little bit, and my voice will have the right pocket to be in there. So that's something I learned from Led Zeppelin. And then just from Jimmy Page, I really learned how a riff carries the song. And like, to me, it's just so crazy that, like, he personally, I wouldn't even be listening to Led Zeppelin if it weren't for Jimmy Page's legendary riffs and licks, because those things are so important for like guitarists to really enhance their playing. And I'm just gonna check the time, and Okay, looks like I'm doing fine here. I'm gonna take another sip of this water. But yeah, it's so amazing that a riff can be just as important to a song as the singing and as the lyrics. And that's where your guitar really does mean a lot to a song, even though it's guitar is kind of being taken out of the mix a lot these days with more electronic nature music. You can also take your guitar and put it back in the mix and make it very present and use it in interesting ways to enhance the song and lighten up the mood. So that's kind of what I learned from. I know it's weird to say that I learned that how to tastefully put the guitar back into the mix from Jimmy Page, when Jimmy Page was famous for having his guitar loud and proud in the middle of the song. But come on now. But it just is one of the things I learned from Jimmy Page is that like the guitar is like your partner in the song. It's like your co-star, or your like your if I'm the lead actor, then the guitar is like my lead actress or like my co-star, and that's beautiful to me. Like having this relationship with your musical instrument that kind of compare with your voice so well that for me, I want to be able to play a lot of solo shows. I don't want to have a band all the time to depend on and have them with me because that can create a lot of problems, and bands do have problems. But if I can use my guitar and my voice to kind of develop the sound I'm going for, then why wouldn't I do that? Because it's giving me the ability to kind of put my voice and emotion into just what I can do. I know that maybe that sounded a little bit confusing, but yeah, that's what I learned from Jimmy Page, and I learned it from Led Zeppelin. Even though Led Zeppelin was a great band, all of them together. I mean, who stands out to you? Is it everybody else, or is it Jimmy Page and Robert Plant? I mean, for me, Jimmy Page and Robert. Yeah, and now I'm just exposing myself for how much I actually know about the band. Yeah. So, ugh. So now I want to talk about, so if you've captured anything from the people I've told you about today that I think you should learn from, now I want to touch on like how do you practice these things and learn, and really like enhance your playing with learning from these guys. Um, so if you take these songs that I gave you, I went through quite a few different songs. I know While My Guitar Gently Weeps was super important. Stairway to Heaven is important. I think everyone should know how to play it, even if it's not going to be like something you play all the time, because it's like a forbidden, it's like a no-no song. But, I'm just checking to see how much dB I've been at for this whole thing. I hope I haven't been too quiet. If I have to like put a bunch of gain, that'd suck. Anyway, it's getting very late. Do I have the coronavirus? Am I like tired and stuff? No, I'm fine. So, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, Stairway to Heaven, Dire Maker, The Ocean, all these songs. What else did I say? Well, Purple Haze by Jimi Hendrix. I totally recommend learning these riffs. Beast of Burden by the Rolling Stones. Purple Rain by Prince. What else? Yeah, Prince could get a whole video because the way he's influenced pop music today, and how his style paved the way for, like the sexy guitar to come in to the mainstream of pop music all the time and like really be a staple. And the way he sang was super good to pair with a guitar. So yeah, now I'm gonna go talk about the practicing. So go through these songs, and when you're going through them, I want you to really listen to the way they were played. And I know the recordings are not the same as the ones we have now because they're not electronically recorded, they're recorded on tape. And it's actually pretty beautiful to listen to songs that were recorded that way. But yeah, so listen to these songs that were recorded differently than our songs are recorded now, and understand that each song has a different meaning and a different style, but each player is doing something that could benefit your playing in a way that you might not even realize. So, let's say the Beatles. You might not want to think of them as a band that could have a really, really sad verse and then a really, really happy chorus, and that's what you learned from them. But for me, that's what I learned. I learned that I could have two completely different sides of a coin in one song, from While My Guitar Gently Weeps and George Harrison's extreme solos made me a much better soloist. But that may not be what it is for everyone. So when you go through these songs in your practice, I want you to learn them the way they're supposed to be learned. Go look up all these different videos. Maybe I'll make some tutorial videos and I will link them somewhere and help you. But when you go learn them, you need to know that you're learning to not only have something new to pull out of your trick bag, but you're learning to have something for your playing and for your personal development. Okay, your personal development is more important than just having another song to play. So each song, you need to have something you can take away. So when you incorporate these songs into your practice and you play them a bunch of times, then you should go back to playing your own jams and your own songs that you've written, and then write new stuff, write new riffs, and whatever you're working on, and give it a new type of, like, a new set of eyes. Like, look at it through the eyes of George Harrison. Look at it through the eyes of Jimi Hendrix. How would Jimi Hendrix take this song and make it crazy? Or how would Angus Young come in, and how would Malcolm Young add like a little riff in here? Like, what would these guys do that I could be doing to really spice it up and make something out of this song? And I think a lot of people don't understand that the root of innovation comes from learning the history. Because if you know what happened before, then you know how to like not repeat it, but somehow use it to, it's like learn from your past. I mean, it's not your past, it's the history of music and guitar, but take that past and make it yours, and then use it to develop and make yourself better. That's what I did. And I guess learning from the greats is really all I can tell you to do, is learn from them and take, it's like if you meet a guitarist and he's not a very nice guy, but he has a lot of tricks and a lot of things that you could use in your playing, don't worry about him being an egotistic guy. Just watch his playing, ask him to show you some stuff, and then you level up your playing. You just learn a few of his tricks, and then you come back and you're the better guitar player than him, and all you gotta do is show off, like, this is what I can do. So it's the same way. I mean, these guys are so important to music. So not only knowing them and knowing the history is great, so you can at least talk in music circles about it, but it's gonna really influence the way you make your own riffs and make your own songs, and how you conceptualize new ideas for new music. So yes, that's all I can really tell you about learning from the greats. I mean, that's about it. So what time we go? 53 minutes. Yeah, this will be a little bit shorter one. Um, yeah. Final thoughts. Um, Learn from the greats is amazing. I'm the humble guitarist. Stay humble, everybody. Please don't go out and touch a bunch of people and things, because the coronavirus is crazy and it is out there and it's trying to kill you and kill your family. So avoid it at all costs and listen to your governmental officials and your doctors a lot, please. So yeah, humble guitarist. Stay. Hey, this is my new slogan. Stay humble, play humble. Peace out. Stop this now.